Alright, it's 2023 and you want to learn React? Let's start right away. Alright, so what is React? React is a front-end web UI framework that you can use to build various different types of web apps, right? On top of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? So today, obviously, we're not going to cover all the concepts and topics because React has a lot to offer. Okay, but we want to make sure that you learn the most important basics of React. So let's get started right away. Alright, so over here we have our terminal. Okay, we're looking at my terminal. Okay, so before we start a project, let's make sure that we have Node installed. So to check our Node version and whether we have Node installed, type in node-v, right, for version. Right, and you can see that we have Node version 16 installed. Okay, so if you get an error or if you see something different from what you are seeing on my terminal, that means you do not have Node installed, right? So make sure you install Node first, right, before you continue on with the rest of this tutorial. Alright, so right now we are in a directory called web apps, right? So first up, let's create a new directory called let's call this learn React. All right, and let's go inside of this new directory that we just created. So cd learn React. All right, and over here, okay, we are going to say npm, right, create vite add latest dot dash dash template react dash ts. Okay, so I'm going to explain what we just typed here. Okay, so instead of using create React app, which has been the standard for many years, okay, a lot of web or modern web developers are moving and migrating to Vite instead, which is why we are typing create Vite add latest, right? And the dot after that, right, tells Vite that we want to create the app in the current directory we are at, all right? And of course, dash dash template tells Vite that we want to use the React TypeScript template, right? So that is the React dash ts, right? So let's press enter. And we should be given some options here. Let's choose React. We're going to React. And of course, TypeScript, right? So think of TypeScript as a type version of JavaScript where you have things like string, integer, boolean, and whatnot. Let's just say that TypeScript is a better version of JavaScript. Okay, if TypeScript sounds too confusing right now to you, just follow along and we will try to explain each and every step along this tutorial. Alright, so next let's do npm install. So this will install all of the various packages or dependencies that this app requires. So let's do that. Right, this might take a while and we'll be back after it's done. All right, so that was fast. Okay, that was done in 8 seconds. All right, let's clear that. Okay, so now we just need to run the app by typing npm run dev. And okay, it should be up and running. Let's check it out. All right, we're back. Okay, add our VS Code on the left and the web browser on the right. And as you can see on the right, here we have the Vite plus React app up and running on your localhost at port 5173, right? So it's a very simple template app, as you can see as we click on the count, right? It increases the counts, right? Okay, now let's take a look on our VS Code, our Visual Studio Code on the left. Okay, I want to draw your attention, right, to the project directory. Okay, so for example, okay, you can see that it generates all these files on the left. Okay, all right, and I want to bring your attention to index.html. Right, so these are all HTML. Okay, and the very important thing to note here is this root div. Okay, so everything that you write in your React app, okay, will be loaded, okay, in this root div. All right, and our starting point is main.tsx. Okay, so this is where your React app starts. Okay, so basically what is happening here, is that, okay, the app calls React DOM to create a root, okay, based on the root div, right, which is what we have here in index.html. Okay, this root div here, all right, and it renders everything, okay, from the app.tsx in this root div, right, which is why whatever code you write, it starts from this app component right here in app.tsx, right? So for example, say right now on the right, you see Vite plus React. Okay, so watch what happens when we type or change anything or add anything. I'm going to say Vite plus React now. Okay, and we're going to save. Okay, pay attention to the right. Okay, notice that now it says Vite plus React now, right? So this is a very good feature, right, of React, and of course Vite as well, which is called hot module reloading, right? If that sounds intimidating, it's fine, right? Just remember that that is what allows you to make changes and see them happen on the fly, right? Which helps to speed up your development process. All right. Okay, so we are going to build a very simple app today. Okay, we're going to build a simple task list, right? App, right? So to start things off, okay, usually what I would like to do is I would like to create a components directory where we store everything in it. Okay, components directory. Okay, and in our app.tsx, I'm going to remove everything here. Let's save that. Okay, and we should get this cleared off. Okay, because we removed everything. All right. All right. So let's see. Okay, if we want to display a list of items or tasks, right, we will need a list of tasks, right? So for example, let's say we have an array here, so constant. Let's do tasks, right? And because this is TypeScript, we have to declare this as a string array, which basically allows you to hold an array of strings, okay, or number of strings, right? So for example, we can say 3 items of task 1, task 2, and task 3, right? Save. And what happens if we just do if we want to display this right now, okay? Okay, so to write JavaScript or TypeScript code between HTML tags, for example, in between this div, okay, you have to put them in curly, or rather in between curly brackets, which is what we just did. Okay, and we say JSON.stringify. Okay, right now we're just going to print out tasks, right? Okay, that should do, and save. Right, and you'll see right smack in the middle here, we see task 1, task 2, and task 3, right? So that is our list of tasks, right? Okay, but of course we don't want it to be displayed in this manner. We want it to be displayed one after another in different rows, right? So let's do that instead, right? So let's remove that. Okay, and instead of having that, okay, we are going to add a new component. Let's call this task list, right? And of course, we have not created this task list yet, all right? So if we save this, which, right, nothing is going to happen because there's no task list yet, right? So go to our components directory. We are going to create a new file. Let's call this task list.tsx, all right? Okay, so that's what we are going to be doing. We are going to be create a new component called task list. All right. So over here, a very good tip that I'm going to give you is to make full use of code snippets. Right. I do have another video which you should be able to find on this channel, or you can check out one of the links either on top or below, right, in the description box below, right? So I do have a code snippet set up. So if I type RFC and tab, I will get this, right? So it saves a lot of time, right? Notice how much time we are saving now. All right. Okay, so we have our empty task list component here, and it is in, okay, we're adding it here, and just to make sure that we are importing it, right? Okay, so how do we check to see if task list is actually being used, right? So go back to task list, right? And we're gonna say hello task list save, right? And you can see right smack in the middle, we have our hello task list, right? All right, so this means that it is added to our app component here, all right? Okay, so now let's talk about a bit about props and what they do, right? So if we go back to our app component, okay, we can see that our task list is here in our app component, right? Okay, and we just created a new task list component that we will be using to display the list of tasks. Okay, but how do we pass this information here, this list of tasks, over to our task list, which is over here, which right now it just says hello task list. All right. Okay, so that's where props comes in. Okay, you can think of props as a short form way of saying properties. Okay, so for TypeScript, okay, to pass in props, you have to declare an interface. I mean, one of the ways is to declare an interface, give it a name, right? Hopefully something that is related to the name of the component, right? That helps with naming sense, yeah. So over here we have one that's called task list props, okay. We're gonna say, okay, give me the task, and of course it's gonna be a string array, all right. So this task, okay, we can actually get it from our app component, right? And you can see that VS Code is already telling us that, hey, you are missing a prop, man, because we just added the task prop, okay, over here once again to our task list props, right? So this is one benefit of TypeScript, right? It helps to keep the quality high in your app, right? In a sense, it tells you, and if you're working with a team, it helps a lot, right? So if we type T, you can see that VS Code already tells us that we need to pass in the tasks, right? So we're just going to do tasks, and that should stop that error, right? So once again, to test that the task has been passed in properly, okay, we're going to say json.stringify, okay, and over here, instead of saying task, okay, to access this task prop that has been passed in by the app component, okay, you have to say props, okay, because over here the task list props is declared as props, okay, so it's props dot tasks, right? And let's save that and watch what happens to our app on the right, right? Save. Okay, and you can see that in task list, right, once again, it becomes task 1, task 2, and task 3, all right? Yeah, so that is how you leverage on props, okay, to pass information from component to component. Okay, just a very important tip here though. So this is called prop drilling, and it is fine if it is just passing information from one component to another, okay, but there are scenarios where you might need to pass information from one component to another, to another, to another, okay. That is not a good practice, okay, but there will be another video on this in regards to global state management, all right. So let's not worry about that for now, and let's continue on with our app. All right, so we have our task prop, okay, passed in here from our app component, okay, but we want to display them in a list, right? So to do that, okay, we need to use the .map function, right? So tasks, or rather props dot task dot map, all right? So what .map does is it will allow you to go or loop through all the tasks in our tasks and do something to them, or rather do something that you want them to do, right? So, and it allows you to go through each task, and of course you can get an index from it as well, right? Okay, so over here, let's say we will return, hey, okay, index, okay, a semicolon, and the task itself, right? And of course, let's put it in a, maybe let's put it in a div, right? Yeah, let's put it in a div. And of course, in between the div, we need another semi, or rather parentheses, right? Curly brackets, yeah. And okay, once we save, we should see 1 semicolon tasks, and then 2 semicolon tasks, and so on and so on, right? So save that. And there we go. And as you can see on the right, we see 0, task 1, 1, task 2, and 2, task 3, right? On the right. All right, so you might notice that the list appears right smack in the center of the app. Okay, so that's not what we want. And let's go to index.css. Okay, we're going to remove place items here, center. Okay, let's remove that. Okay, and you can see now our items are all at the top center, right? Which is going to be easier for you to see throughout this tutorial, all right? All right, let's go back to our task list, okay? So over here, even though this looks okay, but it's going to get messy, all right? So instead of doing this, okay, we're going to create a new component once again, okay, called tasks, right? And once again, using our shortcut, right? Tasks. Okay, and as part of the props, let's say this will be task name, and of course, it's just going to be a string, all right? All right, let's save that, and let's display the string over here. Let's say props.taskName. All right, save that. Let's go back to our task list once again. So instead of doing this here, okay, we're going to remove that, and we're going to pass in our new component, tasks. And of course, okay, we need to import it, yeah? Okay, so let's import it so that the app knows what we are using here. Okay, and let's pass in the task name, right? So that will be task itself, right? So save that. Okay, and you will see that, okay, we have our tasks 1, 2, and 3, right? Displayed in a horizontal list. Okay, and that is because, okay, over here, okay, we need to change this to become a div instead, all right? Save that, and it's back to 1, 2, 3. Right, so previously we were using something called React Fragment, which allows you to wrap multiple HTML elements together, right? Because, okay, if you try to create or add another div here, right, notice that React will tell you an error, right? It will give you an error saying, hey, this is essentially a function, right? You can only return one thing in a function, right? But right now we are returning 2 things, yeah, in this return function here, right? So to fix this, okay, once again using this empty tag, which is actually a fragment, okay, and that will fix the error, all right? Okay, so let's undo everything here. Okay, now we want the ability for you to add new tasks to the list, right? So let's go back to our app.tsx. We're going to add a button here, right? Let's call input type. Okay, let's do text, right? Okay, so that will allow you to enter the task name, and then we're going to add a button as well, right? And let's give it a title as well. Let's say add. All right, so you can see the text here, okay, but the button is not very visible, right? So this is where CSS comes in, right? So you will notice that as you dive deeper and deeper into React, right, quite often you do have to write CSS. All right. Okay, so we're gonna say class name equals to add button. Okay, and in app.css, okay, let's do add button. All right, let's say background color and let's say white, for example. Right, and there we go. Okay, the button is now white. All right. Okay, let's go back to our app.tsx. Okay, so we can see that the add text is not appearing. So let's change that color to black. All right, so once we have changed the color to black and we have added this add in between the button tag, okay, you can see that the add appears in the button itself. Okay, but right now the button is very big. Okay, so we want to increase the size of the text field as well. So let's do class name equals to, let's say, add text. Right, save that. Okay, and okay, now we are in app.css. Let's say add text. Okay, let's do height, maybe 40 pixels. Right, there we go. Okay, so that's it for the CSS, right? For the CSS of this app, right? We don't want to spend too much time on this. Okay, so back in app component, right? Back in our app component. Okay, so in order to keep track of what is typed here, right? You can see that we are typing something here in the app. Okay, we are going to use this useState hook, all right? Which will allow us to keep track of the text type in the text field, okay, which is part of the state itself, right? So let's remove this. We do not need this anymore, right? The count is no longer needed. Okay, so useState, okay, useState from React, right? Always remember that useState returns two items. First, it returns the state variable itself. So over here we have text and a function to update it. So over here we have set text, right? And of course, since this is TypeScript, we need to define the type of this state variable, which for us is a string, all right? Yeah, so once again, always remember that useState, right, returns two items. First, the state variable itself and the function to update it, right? So always remember that. Okay, so over here, you can see that we want to keep track of this text field or whatever you type in it, right? So to do so, okay, we say on input. Okay, over here, we will say bracket set text. Okay, and that will be e dot current target dot value. Right, save that. Okay, and of course you want to set the value to text and save that. All right, now let's go back to our React app on the right. Okay, so right now it seems like we are typing, but it doesn't seem like anything is changing though. Okay, but watch what happens as we print out what is text, right? So we're gonna do a console.log text is text, right? Save that, and let's take a look at the console on the right. All right, so now we have the console appearing on the right. You can see that whenever we type something here, right, you can see that the console is logging, right, the new text. All right. Right, so let's close our console and let's go back to our app and remove this, okay, because we do not want the logs to mess up our code. All right, so now that we are keeping track of text, okay, we can use that to add to our task list, right? Okay, but okay, now we need to change something so that this task can be updated. And yes, we are going back to useState. Okay, so once again, okay, the task itself and a function to update it, right? So always remember that part of useState. And of course, since this is TypeScript, we need to use a string array. And because it is an array, okay, we'll initiate it using a empty array. Okay, so if we save now, okay, the list should disappear because, okay, we started off with an empty array. Okay, but if we say task A, task B, right, we should see task A and B appear back again. All right. Okay, so now in order to add any item to this list of tasks, okay, we need to create a new function. Okay, so constant add new task. Okay, this is an arrow function. All right, so this is how you write an arrow function in React. All right, so add new task over here. Okay, all we have to do is say, hey, set task, right? Update the task state variable, okay, with what we have in task, okay, and the new task, which is essentially just text. Okay, and of course, after that, we want to say, hey, empty out text, and that is it. Yep. Okay, now to call this new add new task function and have it happen every time you click on the add button, okay, we have to go to our add button here, okay, and say on click, okay, and we'll just say add new task, and that is it. So save that, and let's go back to the right, okay, and so if we say buy eggs and milk, right, and if we tap or click on the add button, watch what happens, right? You see that, okay, buy eggs and milk appear, okay, as part of the list because now it is being added, or that it has been added to the list itself, right? So that is how you can make use of useState and keep track of items and manage it. For example, in our case, adding a new task to it. All right. So another important concept in React that I think everyone, okay, especially as a beginner, you should try to understand is the useEffect hook. Right. So previously, okay, we used the useState hook. Right. So you might be wondering what hooks are. So hooks are a way for you to, in general, okay, use state or manage state in functional components, right? So over here, okay, we'll import useEffect as well. So what useEffect does is, okay, it will run, okay, the useEffect will run whenever something changes in the dependency array. Okay, so it looks like this, right? So useEffect, okay, another bracket, put an arrow. Okay, so whatever you type here, right? Whatever you type here will run, okay, whenever anything in here changes their value, right? So for example, remember how we are typing into this text field here? That means that the text value is constantly being changed. All right. So we're going to type in text here, okay, because text is constantly being changed. And we're going to say console.log text.length is, right? And we'll do text.length, right? And save that. And let's go back to our app on the right with the console. All right. Okay, so now we have our app with the console open once again. Okay, so if we look at the console log, okay, right above me, right, and if we type anything in the text field here, say hello world, right, notice how the console logs appear, okay, with the number of characters in the text that you just typed. Okay, so useEffect over here, right, is a very useful tool for you to make something happen, okay, whenever anything in this dependency array changes, right? So So do always remember that. Alright, so one more thing that we really have to go into is the task list itself. Right, so in React, okay, when you use the .map function, okay, React does not know when or what changes, and it will just re-render everything, right? All the items in your list, okay, because it does not know what has changed, right? So imagine if you have 5,000 items in this task list, right? React is just going to re-render everything, and that is not going to give you 60 frames per second, right? For example, right? So in order to resolve that, and as you can see on the right, okay, React also tells us that each child in a list should have a key index or a key prop, right? So to fix that, we just need to pass in a key here, okay, and we'll just use the index, okay, that we have from the map function here, right? So this will tell React, okay, which task of the task list has changed, all right, and then React will re-render accordingly, right? So this is also for efficiency purposes, yeah, to make your app perform better. Yeah, so let's save that. Okay, now if we refresh, you'll notice that the error is gone. Alright, so now that we have fixed that error with the map function and the missing key, okay, let's go back to app.tsx, okay, and let's do something fun, okay, with useEffect. Okay, so remember how this effect will run whenever something here in the dependency array changes, okay? So here we're going to say task.length. Okay, so how many tasks are there in this task list? Okay, so we're going to say if task.length reaches 5, okay, if there are 5 items in it, we're going to say remove all the tasks, right? I mean, this is just for fun, but hey, let's have fun with it as we can, right? So remove tasks, right, over here. Okay, we are creating a new arrow function once again to remove all the tasks. Okay, and all we have to do here is just say, give it an empty array, right? And once, okay, we have 5 items in it, let's remove all the tasks, right? And let's save. Right, let's go back to our app on the right. Okay, refresh, and now we should have tasks A and B. Okay, let's add 3 more tasks and watch what happens, right? So now we have 3, okay, 4. Okay, now we're going to add our 5th task, right? Watch what happens. Bam, right? Our task has been cleared off, right? So this is just a fun way to demonstrate how you can use the useEffect hook. Alright, so that was a very quick introduction to React, right, to how you can learn React in 2023. Here where we cover the core basics of React, including props, functional components, hooks like useState and useEffect. Okay, but if you want to learn and dive deeper into useEffect, for example, okay, be sure to check out our soon to be released useEffect video, right? But as always, stay awesome and stay safe, and do remember to subscribe and ring that notification bell to not miss out on any such new videos, right? Cheers, man.